Hello, listeners. This is Christy Mathern and co-host Alba West with High Desert Voices. Today, we're here in the 970 West studio with Bob Sibernagel. Bob Sibernagel has been writing about history in newspapers, magazines, and books since 1975. He retired as the editorial page editor of the Daily Sentinel in Grand Junction in 2014, and he currently writes a history column for the newspaper. He's the author of 5 books, including Historic Adventures on the Colorado Plateau, Troubled Trails, Dinosaur Stalkers, The Cadots, I hope I'm saying that right, and most recently, First Draft, which is a compilation of his columns for the Daily Sentinel over the years. Thanks so much for being with us here, Bob.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you're all set. Yep.
Okay.
And did I say the Cadots right?
Yes,
Or is it Caddo?
Cadeaux?
No, it's Cadats.
Okay.
It was Cadeau, but the English changed it. I don't know.
Oh,
Right.
those dang English, always changing stuff up.
Yeah.
They shouldn't be changing.
That's
Right. I'm from Louisiana, so my brain wanted Cadeau.
Yeah.
Just because it's kind of Frenchy looking.
Well, it was French.
That makes sense. So you've written entire books about specific bits of history. And the Cadots is a single family of fur traders on Lake Superior, right?
Yes.
So history is so big and detailed, and I'm using the Cadots as an example here. How do you stumble across these specific threads? Like, are you just sitting in that big comfy armchair in the history room at the library reading all the books, or like how do you start that process?
Usually it's finding something kind of by happenstance that gets me interested, and I start doing more research, and then I get obsessed, and then I write a book.
That's awesome. So it sounds like you're sifting through and you find your little gold nugget and then you just drives you.
And I'll do 2 examples. The Cadots, my wife and I are both from southern Wisconsin near Madison, but we've been to Lake Superior a number of times, both of us, and probably in the late 90s we began going pretty regularly just because we really love the area. And when I go to an area, I always investigate the history just for my own interest.
Heck yeah, that way you can say, ooh, that's where this happened back in 1990 something. It's like,
Yeah.
Same.
So we saw on this island called Madeline Island in Lake Superior, the gravestone for Michel Cadot. And it was kind of interesting. And then I also buy books. And so I bought books about the history of the region and some journals of fur traders. And the Cadot name kept showing up over and over. And so I sort of I compared to the movie Forrest Gump, where he keeps appearing in all these important events. Well, the Cadots did that in reality.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool though.
around Lake Superior. And I thought, well, I got to write about these guys. And also, as I said, growing up in southern Wisconsin, we didn't really know about the French Canadians and how important they were to the history of the Great Lakes area in northern Wisconsin. So it just was, I want to write about this. They fascinate me. The question is always, if they fascinate me, can I write something in such a way that it will fascinate others, and especially publishers? And
oh, I love that.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So on Troubled Trails, a friend of mine and I, we used to ride horses in the backcountry a lot more.
Yeah, I saw that video on your website. You're going super fast around with the horses. I was like, oh, snap. This guy is ready to ride.
Well, one summer, probably about 2004, we rode on the flat tops up by Meeker, and we came back through Meeker, stopped at the Meeker Cafe, and had lunch, and there were pictures about the hostages that were taken in 1879. And I thought, well, that was right around here. It'd be kind of fun to try and trace the route they took on horseback. So I started doing research and found there were books about what happened, but nobody had accurately traced the route. There were some inaccurate ones. So I thought, well, I could do this and I could write a magazine article. But as I said, I got obsessed and it became more than a
No, I like
magazine.
it. So I think this, I'm skipping ahead a little bit, but this brings me to a question later on in here. Where's the weirdest place an assignment like this, maybe an assignment you give yourself, has taken you? Weirdest or funniest place that you were like, where am I right now because of this curiosity that I have?
Once in the 1980s, I was working at the Sentinel, not yet the editorial page editor. I was a reporter. But I was over by a silt, and we had some friends over there. And my son was with me, who was maybe 6 years old at the time. And I got a call from like the city editor. This is evening, getting towards dusk. I don't remember what time of year. There had been a murder somewhere.
Oh
and
my
there were
goodness.
these murderers on the loose. And
Yikes.
Oh my God.
Up in Silt. Well, it's Silt, so no. If any of our listeners are from Silt, sorry. I don't know.
It's a wonderful place.
It's a wonderful place, yeah.
and I said, well, I can see if I can find anything or see anything. And
With your kid there.
with my kid in the car, and he actually tells the story better than me because he has. We went through a cemetery.
Oh my God.
I can see how that would be.
It was probably near Halloween. I don't know.
Oh my God.
And briefly, I left him in the car in the cemetery to go talk to some cops. I mean, I wasn't miles and miles away.
Well,
but
in the 80s, that was fine.
yeah.
Right,
And,
right.
and he says it mentally.
Yeah, I bet it
hurt him.
changed his brain composition a little bit. He was like,
And we got to make sure he doesn't hear this podcast.
oh, okay. Actually, we're going to call him up to get his version of the story, just so you know. No?
Oh, that's so funny.
I like that.
So back to history for a minute. I've written a few history pieces for magazines, and every time I do it, I'm kind of astounded at how much work goes into the accuracy part, because like that really, of course, matters in a history piece. You want to get the story right, and you never know if you have all the sides to something, especially if it happened 100, 200 years ago. And in most cases, you're entirely reliant on how well or not well previous generations have kept that information. How long did it take you to finish writing a book like Troubled Trails? And for the unfamiliar, Troubled Trails is a book about how the Utes were forced out of Colorado after the Meeker affair and about the trails they used. So, yeah, how long did it take you to finish writing that book?
Well, so I mentioned the horseback trip that sort of got me interested in it. And I remember in early 2005, I was flying back from a family event in Wisconsin, and I just thought, I want to make this a book, not just a magazine article. So mid-2005, the book actually came out, was published in September 2011. So 6 years there. Now, I was working full-time.
Right.
So that maybe took a little longer. Although the Cadets, even though I wasn't working full-time for all of it, for part of it I was, it took just as long, maybe a little longer. So, yeah, just a lot of research, and things changed between Troubled Trails and the Cadet book. The big thing that changed was the amount of information online in places like Google Books and Academia EDU. And you didn't have to see everything in a library. You could get it online.
You didn't have to travel or order something to,
Yeah,
come to your library probably, right?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm sorry you had to live through that. It's really...
Well, actually, this may be getting to another question, but one of the things that I was able to do for this book was I learned through some of the sources that I was reading that the Chicago Tribune had covered these events in real time, or as real time
Oh,
as
wow.
you could do,
Yeah.
almost daily reports. And I thought, well, I got to see what that is. Of course, you couldn't just go online and get the Chicago Tribune, but a lady at this library, who's since retired, but was very helpful, she contacted a library in Illinois, in Springfield, Illinois, and they sent me microfiche, reams of microfiche
Wow.
of the Chicago
Wow.
Tribune from 1879 and 1880 that really helped
Yeah,
my
if you
research.
if you don't already love the library, there's so many cool reasons
Yeah.
to.
I know. We're literally sitting in a library
know.
facility right now using a whole lot of free equipment.
We're not sponsored by the library, but go get your library card, even if you're not going to use
Yes.
it. It
Yep.
helps. Yeah, it
We
helps.
love them there. Yeah, I think it's also kind of remarkable that a newspaper in Chicago was reporting on this in a what I remember in the book that you said it was slightly more accurate too than local papers
Than
or
the-
like a different.
Then the Denver papers. There weren't any papers over here on the
Uh-huh. Yeah, I
West
guess
Slope
not.
at the time. But the Denver papers were,
Were
they
they-
were all about the Utes must go, get them out of here.
Yeah, they had an opinion about
Right.
it.
I think the Tribune did to some extent as well, but they were much more moderated in their voice, and so.
Super important. Were there any major obstacles in your research for this book besides, getting microfiche mailed to you? That sounds like a good thing, but like, did you encounter a lot of incorrectness in the records that you found?
There were some of that. There were a couple of books that I don't think they're still in publication, but there was inadvertently incorrect information about the trail that just because they hadn't used the same sources I did that indicate where the trail was. But I remember one book that was blatantly and I think intentionally incorrect. They had a quote from Josephine Meeker, part of which I have in here, and I had the source that that quote came from, and it ended here, and they added
Oh.
half a sentence to make
Yikes.
it sound something different.
And to the average person, there's nobody that's. Oh, you just kind of take it all in as
Yeah.
fact because I'm like I have not done my research on the history of the Utes, and so I was like, I would just take it all as is. That could be dangerous, right?
Yeah. Well, it can be if you're writing by somebody who doesn't care about accuracy
Right.
or has a certain way.
Can I tell one more
Please.
anecdote
Yeah.
about that?
Yeah.
So when I was fairly early in my research, there was a book that was already published by a man named Peter Decker, a historian.
I think I just got a book by him. I think that is so odd that you say that. There was like 100 books out in the Uray
Yeah.
library, all Peter Decker.
Yeah.
That is so
Oh.
odd. Yeah.
Well, he was a very kind man. He's since passed away, but I went and talked to him, and he gave me some advice, some things that I was able to find, sources that I wasn't aware of. And then he said, the one problem you're going to have is the Utes won't talk to you. I've tried for years, and they won't talk to you.
Interesting.
And that was largely true. I emailed some tribal leaders. I did meet one Ute historian who talked to me for a while, but the real breakthrough, I guess, that it was just serendipity, if you will. I was down at the Ute Museum in Montrose. It was the day they were having a number of Utes and a powwow there, and I was in the museum, and I was looking up at these pictures, including one of Susan Urshetowicz, who was Chief O'Rea's sister. And I'm looking at that, and this Ute gentleman comes beside me, and he said, "That's my grandmother."
Whoa.
That's how you met him?
That's how I met him.
Wow. Yeah, because he ended up being kind of instrumental in your
Oh,
book, right?
He became, I would have had a book without it, but it
It makes
wouldn't
a
have
big
been this
difference.
book,
Yeah, it makes a big difference.
And we're still friends. We still talk pretty regularly. And so
Yeah. That's awesome that you were just like in the right place,
Yeah,
Yeah.
right time, no technology involved.
exactly, exactly.
You also rode historic Ute trails on horseback for this book. How was this experience, and how did retracing their actual steps help you flesh out the book?
Well, I think, and I like to do that with even my semi-weekly history columns for the Sentinel. If I can, just travel part of the landscape. It just gives me a better feel for what's going on. The horseback on troubled trails helped me see a couple of places where I was pretty sure the Utes had gone, but get a better feel for what that experience was going that way. 'Cause
You like to put yourself in their shoes, kind of thing, just see.
to the extent possible,
Yeah.
yes, definitely.
And do you find that that helps you write in an engaging way in the book? Is that important?
I hope it does. That's the goal.
Okay.
Definitely.
Well, I personally am happy when I feel put in the action.
Yeah.
And you mentioned going up to a lookout point or like a scout point. I think you said that the Utes used to keep track of where the action was going on during the Meeker affair.
Yes.
And you and your wife rode out there.
Unfortunately, for this part of the story, that wasn't on horseback. That was.
Oh, was that not on horseback?
That was
Okay.
in four-wheel drive.
That was
But-
me mixing wires.
but-
Okay, so it's a 4-wheel drive trip.
But it did. I kept reading in the journals or the transcripts of the official hearings that were held that the Utes went up on the high point and were able to, using telescopes, to look back to essentially where the town of Meeker now sits. And I thought, where could you do that? And I'd flown in a small plane with a friend around, and we looked at different places where, flying fairly low over the mountains and looking back, can you see Meeker from here? Can you see Meeker from
Oh,
here?
wow.
And then this point on the top of the plateau there, just south of Rifle, I thought, well, seems like it might be a good place. So, and there is a 4-wheel drive road up there. We drove up there and then got to the point that's closest to the north end, looking back towards Meeker. And with binoculars, sure enough, you could see Meeker there. So if you're Ute Indians in 1879 and the army, the cavalry's in there, and they're moving around, you're going to be able to see a lot of dust from what was going on
The
then.
dust. Okay.
And when they started moving south to the area where you're at, trying to stay away from them, you could see that dust moving south. And that was the only place I found where you could do that. However, there was one other place that might have worked, but it was on private land that I couldn't get access to. So
okay.
one of two places.
So it could have been that place.
I think it was.
Probably.
Yeah. It was, dang it.
All signs point to yes. Okay, so when you're researching a history piece, are there certain resources that you tend to use over and over again? I'm personally curious.
Wikipedia.
Wikipedia. Oh yeah.
Hey, that's my
Wikipedia.
favorite one.
Well, it's a great starting point. I've
Reddit,
used it as a starting point.
Wikipedia, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's a great starting point. Then you go to the references and
Yeah.
so you get to the actual sources.
Right. So what's in your research toolkit?
Well,
Share your secrets with me.
my column for the Sentinel is called First Draft, and that's the first rough draft of history. Newspapers are the first rough draft of history.
That is true.
So I use historic newspapers all the time.
Take notes.
Newspapers.com, Colorado Historic Newspapers, and Utah Historic Newspapers, because I'm mostly in this region. But those are the big ones, and I used them. Actually, found some when I was working on the Cadet book about cadets in historic newspapers. I think they're a wonderful source. Then after that, obviously when you're doing history, you know, you want as much of the primary sources you can get. So journals or diaries that you have or you can find. I'm working on another project about an Army officer who was in the West, not much in Colorado, a little bit, in Utah a lot, prior to the Civil War. And he wrote a lot. He wrote journals. He wrote official reports.
I love that for you.
Well, here's the
Key
thing
for you.
here's the thing I'm struggling with that you guys might be interested in.
Sure.
He was married to the same woman for over 60 years. He never mentions her. There's nothing.
Men.
I can't find letters she wrote.
Who is
I
this
can't-
guy?
Yeah.
Oh, clearly he had other things to do and to
Yikes.
write about.
Oh.
They had
That's
4 kids.
crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that so you don't.
Priorities, ladies, get you a man that will write about you, write to you. Alexander Hamilton, he was a writer and he still cheated though. I don't know. It's like
Yeah.
I think they all did back then. I don't know.
today, no.
But how would him mentioning her help your research?
Well, I want to include her in the story. I mean, she's part of him
Right.
for 60 years. And I like to say, in 60 years, he only shot her once. It was an accident, but
Oh, I'm sorry. I missed something. Shot her?
shot, as with a gun.
Yeah, he only shot her once. And then I don't know if it was an accident. We're gonna
You know,
have
is
to
this,
say.
was this
Unless
one of
it
the
was,
times
like,
where
unless it was through the floor or something.
divorce wasn't really on the table, right? You
Right,
kind of
exactly.
just
Yeah.
Well,
stick with your decision, right?
That's the question, whether it was an accident or not. What does this woman do? She's still in her 30s when it happened.
Oh,
Are you going to divorce him and be what? You won't have anything.
yeah, you'll be
there.
like
Drama.
shunned and broke.
All of a sudden, I'm interested in history, and you know what? I have a lot to say.
So I want part of this woman's voice in
Yeah.
the book I'm working on.
Yeah.
But
I do
I'm
too.
struggling to find much about it. And you know, she was with him a lot in his frontier posts and had children in those posts.
Yeah.
There's great story there, and I've been on Ancestry and found a little bit, but there's just not much.
Man.
Well,
We're all disappointed in you, Guy. Well, I hope you find more about her because I would like to know. Now I would really like to know. The history of Western Colorado is to pivot toward dinosaurs.
Okay.
good pivot, yeah.
It's still history. It's often tied up in geology and geologic time. So I love that you wrote a book about dinosaur discoveries in our region. I'm not from Colorado, so like when I think about Colorado history,
Yeah, we can tell it's Colorado, not Colorado.
Oh yeah, I've heard. I've heard. Hush,
It's
y'all.
fine. I'll get over it.
So when I think about Colorado history, does that work?
Okay.
Is that like
All right,
Midwestern
it's
enough?
overdone. It's overdone.
Dinosaur bones are really relevant to me. And what are some of the more interesting bits of geologic and dinosaur history you've come across in your research?
I guess when I was working on that project, one of the things that really struck me that I found fascinating, I was dealing with a lot of archaeologists who, were out digging or had dug in the past and left records that I could read or something like that. But it was the number of amateurs that found stuff and helped locate either a major dig or name sources. And one of them was on the Uncompahgre Plateau, and it was a family that they had a lumber business, and they found these dinosaur bones, and they took them to the archaeologists, I think originally in Delta, but maybe in here at the museum here. And they ended up with what was at the time, the largest dinosaur in the world.
Whoa.
It's since been eclipsed by dinosaurs in Argentina and other places, but at the time it was.
That's cool. Well, I think it's just cool to live in a place where you could just be walking around somewhere and trip over
Heck yeah.
dinosaur
You have the
fossil.
Fruita Dinosaur Museum, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
I haven't been in a while, but when I was younger, it was cool.
yeah, that is cool.
Well, I think they're going to try and upgrade some of those.
Are they good? Good. Some of those can, it's almost scarier when they don't work. You know,
Yeah.
it's like they're supposed to be scary when they work, animatronic, dinosaurs, whatever. But when they don't work and they're kind of like peeling off a little bit and then they kind of barely.
Like zombie dinosaurs.
Yeah, that's. I think I was scarred as a child. Now that I'm like thinking
Yeah, it sounds like it. It sounds like you were just
bad
horrified.
animatronics. But well, in writing, do you find the joy and happiness in like visiting the history, sharing the history, like the process, to follow the dopamine process? It sounds like, or is it more about getting the facts out? Like this is the real story. This is what you heard, or both.
I think it's more the first. I'm not so much into saying these folks are wrong and I'm right, because somebody's going to come.
Got to stay humble as a journalist, right? Probably.
Well, that and somebody else can come and redo the record. Well, I forget what the numbers were, but there's like 5 or 10 new books on Abraham Lincoln every year.
Yeah.
So somebody's rewriting that record all the time. Somebody will rewrite this, and somebody will rewrite the Kadat. So I'm my joy, my excitement comes in just sharing what I've found, not saying, boy, I'm sure the expert here, I know, and you guys don't know. But
The attitude helps, right?
it just, I get excited, you may have noticed, saying, look what I found, this is how I found it, isn't it neat? And I think it's something we should all be aware of if we're interested in our history.
Definitely. What would you say to people that are just not interested? There's, well, why is history important? It's kind of boring. History books, I know, right? But there's a lot of people out there that are like, I'd rather read romance.
I mean, and
History romance is what we should write next, right?
Yeah.
Well, there is that.
There
I'm
is
pretty
that?
sure there is that.
well, it's got to be sci-fi history romance. too.
Oh,
Well,
right.
let's throw that in there too.
Aliens, spaceships, Abraham Lincoln
On a spaceship.
on a spaceship with,
You know, I don't try to say you need to know about this. I think when I do history presentations or talks, an awful lot of the people, usually the vast majority, are near my age. So it's always good. I'm so thrilled when there are people who are younger that start to get interested in history. As you read in my short bio, I was doing history stories when I was pretty young, in my 20s. But I think for a lot of people, history doesn't resonate until you get older, and part of that may be the textbooks you mentioned that just do, they're like, they just mash your mind when it comes to history. They don't present it in a way that's, or at least the ones I had when I was going to school, didn't present history in a way that made it really interesting or even relevant. So,
yeah. Almost have to apply it to what's happening now, right?
Yeah.
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 and why is Troubled Trails important? Well, it's why the area we live in is available to us now, because 140 years ago it was not our land, and
Yeah.
it was all belonged to the Utes. And, so it's both the Ute story, but it's the white people's story of how this wonderful land we love in western Colorado became open to white settlers.
Sure.
Yeah, I like that. I like to know, like, have an idea of where I am,
Yeah,
right? And where I am involves that,
yeah.
what happened.
History, yeah.
And like that's why this is available to us. That's why That's why a lot of things, honestly.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's true everywhere. I mean, there's a lot of history, obviously, in Louisiana, and I'm
Oh, yeah.
interested in it to read it, but not to go research and write it because it just doesn't fit with my other
Right.
projects. Yeah.
Right, exactly.
So you get so far in at some point you want to stick to your niche kind of thing. Is that
Yeah, I think that's true.
yeah?
I think Bob is just following his nose, right? Like
Yeah.
he's just
Yeah.
like, oh, this is cool. Oh, I like this. This tells me something about the place I'm around.
Yeah,
So I'm a
cool.
basset hound.
I like it. That's what
Yeah,
the
that's a good
title of
thing.
the
Yeah.
title of the podcast episode.
Oh God.
Bob
then-
the Basset.
And then you have to figure out why it's called that, and then they'll find out.
Is that how it's
20
written these days? That's how we write headlines. Speaking of headlines, I wanted to talk to you about your career at the Daily Sentinel. You spent a decade, is that right? 2 decades.
19 years. So.
Over a decade. I did put that over in there. You spent 19 years as the editor of the editorial section at the Daily Sentinel in Grand Junction. The Colorado Press Association named you Newsperson of the Year in 2013.
Woo!
Yeah, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
And one of your colleagues at the paper called you the go-to guy's go-to guy. I love that. And you still write a history column there, as I mentioned earlier. I feel like most of the conversation around journalism is about the service that it provides to the public. And that is important, but I'm also fascinated talking to journalists about what they learn in the practice of that service. So how did your career at the paper change you, or your approach to life, your approach to community, writing, history, and what did it teach you that bleeds into your daily life?
Well, I think you sort of got into it, or I sort of got into it in the 1970s. This is right after Watergate, and we're going to go be investigative journalists and hammer the people that are doing things wrong and stuff.
Oh, I never thought about that being kind of a bump in
Yeah.
the field, but I bet it was.
Yeah, I think I mentioned in that one talk that there was a whole group that were called Watergate babies, or
Oh, you're right, you did.
yeah.
You did touch on that.
But so you get in with that, and then you start dealing with actual people and realizing, it's not just these big narratives. There are people involved. And I got to tell one story. Before I was at the Sentinel, I was at a weekly paper in Vail, Colorado. And I was just starting out, just had started there. And there was a cowboy I knew, a rodeo cowboy, and I'd actually gone to rodeos with him and stuff. And he was mediocre bull rider, but he was fun to be around. And he lived just a few trailers down in the trailer park where my wife and I lived in Minturn, Colorado. Not Minturn, Minturn.
Yeah, I've heard that one
Yeah.
too. I've been corrected. Anyway.
He shot himself.
Oh.
And I talked to some people who knew him who were pretty convinced it was a suicide. And I used their comments anonymously, and I wrote a report that began with the line, I still remember it, Danny was a drifter, because he did. He moved around a lot. His mother read my report. The sheriff had declared it an accident, that the gun went off when he was cleaning it. I don't know what really happened, but she was devastated. His sister called me and just read me the riot act, and
That's
it was
rough.
my first understanding that
Yeah.
what I'm writing can have a real effect on individuals, and you have to consider that, not just
He's sensitive, not just fact.
and not
Person.
just
Yeah.
fact looking for the most sensationalist story.
Yeah.
And
Oof.
Or
That
even
was a
just
tough
hearing you say that just now, you were describing this guy who you used to be, maybe you knew, you're like, yeah, bull rider, we were neighbors. Shocked it. I don't know. I was like shocked just hearing about it right now. I was like, oh, this is not the way that I thought the story was gonna go.
Yeah.
But that's
No,
really
that's rough, especially like when you consider that the family members are going to read
Yeah.
this and oof, oof.
it's a lot of pressure. A
Yeah.
lot of pressure.
So,
So I carried that with me throughout my career, still do, obviously. It's just something I try and think of, even doing history columns. What, the people I'm writing about, how will this affect them? Will this, if I'm writing about an outlaw from the late 19th century, are there any family members?
That might get offended or
Yeah.
might say, "Hey, why are you writing about my?"
or that, it's worth giving them a call.
Oh, totally,
It's worth,
totally.
yeah, just even for that reason, so they're aware
Yeah.
that somebody's writing about it. Oh, gosh.
Has there been a situation where you've written something like that and then maybe somebody from the family or from a publication, something somewhere is like, hey, like, you got to pay us, you got to involve us, or we get to decide how this person is portrayed? Have you come across that?
Nobody that has come back and said, you got to pay us.
Okay.
But I did have one about a gentleman who, did you ever see the movie Seabiscuit?
No, I didn't see
Is
Seabiscuit.
it a horse movie?
It's
Yeah.
the horse movie.
Yeah, I feel like I did.
Well, the guy
Forever
that
ago.
trained him was in western Colorado in the Glade Park.
Oh, wow.
Or not
Oh.
Glade Park, Gateway area.
It's a true story.
It is
right?
a true
Yeah.
story.
Oh.
But he got in some legal troubles before he became the racehorse trainer. And I have newspaper articles to show that show he went to court and was fined and stuff. And I
Okay.
wrote about that. And some family member from Washington State sent me a pretty irate email.
What are you doing digging in our history and
Exactly.
you're giving us a bad name when we have this really cool movie out?
Okay,
Yeah.
so you were basically just reporting facts, but where do you draw the line between like this is documented, this is like also relevant in some way to a story that you're writing? How do you decide whether that's something you should chop or say?
I wish there were an easy answer to that. It's kind of case by case, and going back to what we said before, do I think this is going to have an adverse impact on the family? Obviously, the one with the racehorse trainer, I didn't even consider that.
Yeah, so that wasn't already rolled out to print.
Yeah, yeah. Other times, I know there was a kind of hanger on, is that the right word? Associate of the Wild Bunch, who lived in Palisade,
Okay.
and actually served briefly as town marshal in Palisade around 1901, 1902. And I was a little worried, was any of his family member still living, and still living in the area. I couldn't find any.
Were you worried about your safety
No.
at any point? Like, okay, just
No.
wondering.
But this has a really interesting one. His name was Ferguson. There weren't any that I could find that were related to him still living in Palisade. There were people in Texas
Oh,
related to him,
Sure.
and they contacted me and said, "We love your article. Can we?"
oh, good.
And I did a presentation on this guy in Palisade, and they came up from Texas to
Aw.
listen to the
Oh.
presentation. So,
That's awesome. So it can go both ways.
Yes.
Sometimes they're like, "Thank you for writing about this."
well, not to be too much both-sidedism, but here was this man. He served honorably as the town marshal. He did a number of good things while he was in Palisade.
Sure.
He wasn't universally evil or anything like that, but he had connections to the Wild Bunch, and they just were happy that I showed both sides of it.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
All for I don't,
The truth.
I don't, yeah, like the facts show that this guy did these good things and these bad things. Here you
Right.
go.
Yeah.
Is there anything you wish the general public knew about the process of journalism?
I think, and I can't say what things are like in certain, you know, television news organizations or
Hollywood.
yeah. But in all of my experience here in Grand Junction and in Vail and the people I knew in Denver, nobody, no reporter I ever knew, political or otherwise, Associated Press, nobody was getting directions from above. You write it this way, you have this slant to it. I think all of the news people I've known, including television ones, local television and radio and stuff, they go on in with an honest, sincere attempt to report as neutrally as possible or as factually as possible. That's not to say newspaper people and television news people and radio news people don't have their own political biases, and those biases do show up at times. But I don't think the ones I know intentionally skew their news to represent their bias.
Yeah, I do.
That is good
Wish
to
more
know.
people knew about that.
Yeah.
I think that is a hot talking point these
Yeah.
days. So,
Let's see here. Was there a piece that you wrote that changed the way that the community saw you, or that changed the way that you saw the community after you maybe found out too much information or got a little too deep somewhere?
Well, I think the one about my friend, the bull rider, was the biggest.
yeah, you
one.
kind of dipped into
Yeah.
that there,
Yeah.
I think.
I mean, there have been ones where I got some information out that maybe elected officials didn't want out.
Oh,
But
Oops.
it wasn't like I was Woodward and Bernstein. You know? It just-
just happened to be,
Yeah.
yeah.
Gosh. Do you have any big mistakes that you've made besides like I mentioned that there are so many types of mistakes in journalism, and you kind of detail one of those in that letter. It's not like a hard mistake maybe, but like it's with the information you had at the time, you just didn't consider feelings
Right.
in that context. But are there any stories that you want to share about a mistake that you made in print, subtle or not, that was called out? You don't have to answer that question, by the way. Like it's some of my mistakes haunt me too.
I'll tell you one that
And in print, it's there forever.
Yep.
Right?
it was kind of my mistake, but I was assisted in the mistake making by
Oh, okay.
by editorial.
Share the blame.
Somebody should have caught it.
No. Well, let me tell the story.
Okay.
So I was not the editorial page editor or the editorial writer. I was just a writer. And there was something that happened, I can't remember the event, down towards Durango. And I was writing an article about it, an event that involved environmental issues. And it was one of those days, you have them sometimes, where you just can't get anybody to talk, to give you a comment. And I had tried this one lady I knew who was with an environmental organization, and she said, "No, I don't know enough about that. I'm not really as involved as I should be." And I said, "Okay." So I went on to other people, couldn't get anybody. I went back to that first lady who I'd known. We were friendly. I wouldn't say we were friends, but we had an amicable relationship. And I said, "Oh, come on, Sally," or whatever her name is. "Please, I just need one comment. Can't you give me one comment?"
Anything. I'll take anything.
And she did. And I wrote it in the newspaper, and it appeared the next day. And the day after that, our then editorial writer just skewered that lady, Sally, for
Oh no!
how could you say something like that? That's typical environmental BS. And
Oh.
and I had to call.
Sorry,
and
Sally.
was reluctant to talk to me ever.
I can understand that. Yeah.
Poor Sally.
Yeah.
or whatever her name is. I know you change names to protect.
Did that kind of work?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, when you are a professional, you should know when to share and what not to share. I'm not saying it's like anybody's fault exactly, but like.
No, well, it's unfortunate is what
yeah.
it is. It's like an unfortunate series.
But I mean, I really leaned on her. And
Yeah.
Like
give me
you,
a comment.
Anything, yeah.
you like walked her off the plank,
Yeah.
basically.
Exactly.
Aw.
If you could go back and tell your younger journalist self one thing, what would that be?
I guess to be aware of these things I've said, be aware of the effect on the community, or individuals, be aware of, be as factual as you can, but let it go when you go home, because I was real terrible about that. And I spent so many nights, waking up at 3 a.m. Oh, did I spell that name right? Did I get that?
Oh,
back
no.
right? So do your job, do as well as you can, but don't obsess over it all the time.
Work hard, relax hard, play
Yes.
hard. Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh man, I'm glad that happened to you too. Because I was gonna ask you a question about like the Sunday scaries. I wrote for a weekly paper for a little while, and that was the first time I had ever had like a newspaper job. And we printed on Monday, or no, our issue went to print on Monday, but we came out on Wednesday. So I would have like this Sunday freak out moment, like just after a couple of months, you're like, oh God, what's gonna go wrong? Oh God, what have I done? Oh, it's rough.
And I do that a little with my history columns too, but it's not nearly as intense.
Hope it's manageable now.
Yeah.
And like
Does
you
it get
have
easier?
an editor like fact checking you, or no?
On the history column?
Yeah, or are you the?
Her name is Judy Sibernagel, and she's my
Oh,
wife.
Judy.
Because they don't get edited a lot at the paper anymore.
Okay.
That's fine. They just don't have as many people as they used to.
Well, I bet after so many years of doing this, you trust yourself too, to like
but,
double back over your sources and.
I mean, but I had a good mistake earlier this summer where,
A good mistake, yeah.
yeah. Well, it was I had one draft of it, and then I rewrote it and had the second draft, which had all
The
the
edits.
appropriate edits in it. I sent the first draft to the paper, and that's what they printed.
Oh no.
No.
There's
And
freedom when they
Judy
trust
had-
you, but
Judy had proofed the second draft.
Oh.
dang it. That's all right. That's right. We forgive you.
Thank you.
Well, we're going to thank Judy for all her hard work. Well, thanks for being here, Bob. This has been a lot of fun. I wanted to ask where people can find your books and your writings in Grand Junction and in the Grand Valley and online.
Well, they are Grand Valley Books on Main Street, Out West Books. The Museum of Western Colorado has some of them, not the Cadots, just because it's not.
Yeah, it's somewhere else.
Yeah. I don't know about Barnes and Noble. They had some, but I'm not sure if they still carry it.
Okay.
They had this. The library has copies of the books dealing with Western Colorado, and then online, Amazon has them.
Is it Lithic and Fruta? Do they have?
I'm sorry. Yeah, Lithic and Fruta.
Okay,
carries
that's.
them
I
too.
thought you had mentioned that to me
Yeah.
earlier.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's another online source that is.
Is it
I should have looked it up, and I can't remember the name. That is.
like bookshop.org?
Well, if you
Yeah,
think of it,
maybe that's.
I think
it.
that it's one of the places I ended up looking
Yeah.
for your
Okay.
books.
cool.
Okay, cool. And you also run a blog on your website that is bobsilbernagel.com.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about the blog?
The blog is really. I'm just reposting my columns that appear in the Sentinel.
Okay.
A few
Okay,
days
good.
And the reason I started doing that is the Sentinel's archives aren't they don't go back as far. They don't keep things as long.
Oh, interesting.
So I wanted a place where my columns would be the online versions, at least as
And
long
it's
as.
specific to history too, which is nice
Yeah.
if you're going strictly for that, right?
Right, and then I have, mention copies of my books, and occasionally, when I remember, mention things I'm gonna be doing, which I should probably mention about this podcast.
Right. Yeah. Are you doing any meet and greets or any signings with your new book coming out?
Well, I have to finish it and find a publisher.
Okay.
Oh, yeah,
Got
so
it.
we might be a couple years off or something.
Okay.
Two minor things.
Well,
but-
we will be looking forward to it coming out.
All right. Well, thanks again for being here with us, Bob. All your listeners out there can visit Bob's website at bobsilbernagel.com. And do you do any social media?
I have a YouTube channel, but that's it. I don't do
Okay.
any.
All right. Bob has a YouTube channel. You can go look him up on there. Thanks for listening, guys. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Thank you.
High Desert Voices is the official podcast of the Western Colorado Writers Forum, a nonprofit organization based in Grand Junction, Colorado. The forum's mission is to foster a rich and diverse writing community on Colorado's western slope that invites participation from diverse cultures, customs, and life experiences. The forum hosts Writers' Night presentations at the Grand Junction Center for the Arts on the first Tuesday of every month, where local and national writers give presentations on their craft. Sign up for the forum's free newsletter and listen to all our podcast episodes for free at westerncoloradowriters.org.